Hey there, it's me Eden. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to my channel and visit my Patreon page for early access, link in the description. The day had been long for Alexis. Briefing after briefing, and the exercises at the end of the day were murderous. But she had made it through them. She had also picked her desired destination. She would go back to that fateful day all those 7 years ago. She would try to stop herself from going. The only problem was that the physicists and engineers had explicitly warned her against such interventions. But she would do it anyway. She had to try. The universe be damned. Anyway, if how things had turned out was any indication, it wouldn't work anyway. But she had to try. Her thoughts, as she neared sleep, became more nervous and doubtful. What if something went wrong? What if she accidentally destroyed the universe or something? Of course, she didn't much care about herself anymore. Her medications would keep her alive for a few more years, no more than that though. But what if she ended up hurting others, even if she succeeded in her mission? What if what she did caused a war or something like that? There were so many questions, so many doubts. She would go through with it, though. She knew, as a fact, she knew she would make it back in time, but would she return? Unlike last time, when all she cared about was herself, didn't even think of how it would affect those close to her, her family especially. She realized she had probably hurt them almost as much as they hurt her. After all, she had given them no warning, no clue, nothing. She had just done it, because she felt like it. She took no input from anyone. She fell into sleep, crying at memories. She got up early the next morning, showered, and for the first time since the procedure, didn't start crying. She got into a jumpsuit they had given her yesterday, and brought with her a backpack they had given her to hold normal clothes for the short time she would be there. The backpack and the clothes were exactly the same as the ones her double had worn 7 years ago. This would be an interesting day. She walked out into the corridor. Various members of the workforce were at their doors, many of which she had never met. They all gave her a few words of encouragement, many joking with some degree of sincerity that she must have cheated to get the spot. There were no hard feelings though. Alexis arrived in the main chamber on time, and looked up to see the massive machine, now with a series of stairs leading up to a platform at the entrance to the main chamber. The whole machine was alive, humming, hissing, and making this noise and that. Alexis began to climb the stairs. She arrived at the top and was greeted by Mr. Trent, Dr. Larson, and many others. They wished her luck, shook her hand. It all just went by so quickly. Before she knew it, she was standing in the featureless spherical chamber. The hatch was still open, and an engineer walked up to it and began speaking to her. "Okay, you ready?" he asked, and she nodded. "Good. I can't tell you what to expect or anything, so I'll just say a few things. Try not to move away from the center of the chamber or else it might not work. If everything works according to plan, we'll plop you pretty closest to where you wanted to be in terms of space. Time is no problem. You may be a block or two away from where you wanted to be, but this was built to be accurate and precise in going through time, not space. Got that?" Alexis nodded again. "Good. Oh, and one more thing, don't interfere. If you cause a paradox, God knows what will happen." "Good luck," he said, finishing with his stern warning, a warning Alexis had every intention to disregard. She nodded, and gave a mock salute. He closed the hatch. She stood there, alone in the well-lit white chamber, waiting for the jump backwards in time. She began to twiddle her thumbs, literally. It was a habit she had picked up a long time ago. Then, the chamber went black. At least that was her first impression. Then she realized she was weightless, then lights of various colors began circling her, starting very dimly, and getting brighter and brighter. Her world was a kaleidoscope of colors, constantly shift and changing, evolving, and growing more bright and intense with each moment. Then, suddenly, she was surrounded by bright, white dots that started spinning around her, faster and faster, until they formed circles. The circles very quickly began moving up and down, like waves in a sea of light. Then there was a flash, and the waves became circles, the circles dots, the dots disappeared and were replaced by the colors, which dimmed and slowed until she was again left in blackness. Then there was a bright flash, and a sensation of falling. She hit the grass, very much disoriented, and awed by the spectacle that she had just seen. She had hit fairly softly, and looking around, she saw she was about a block away from her old home. She saw the gas station across the street. She ran across the vacant street, around the building to the women's bathrooms, where she exchanged her jumpsuit for the faded jeans and white shirt in her backpack. The jumpsuit went in the backpack. Alexis then walked out of the station, around to its front, and gathered her bearings. There were children playing down the street. Across from her old house, in fact. Could they have seen what had happened just now, her arrival? Could they have seen, or should it be said, will they see the events about to take place at my old house? Alexis began walking down the sidewalk towards her old home. It was a sunny day. For some reason, she had always remembered it as a cloudy, miserable day. The events of the day must have clouded the memory, Alexis thought. And soon enough, she was face to face with her old home. She just stood there for a moment, taking it all in. The friend and girlfriends she had once had here when she had been a man. The good times and the bad times. Alexis just gave a sigh of nostalgia. She then purposefully strode up to the front door and opened it. She moved in quickly and hastily, and closed it in the same manner, and came face to face with her old male self. Paradox time. Okay, Alex, Alexis says, quickly, rushing it. After all, she didn't know how much time she had. Alex, I can't tell you who I am, where I am from, or how I know what I know, but you have to trust me, she said earnestly to a still stunned Alex. You can't go for the treatment you are going for today. Please listen to me. If you do, you will contract a disease that will be incurable and will kill you in 10 years or so. You will be miserable. You will be shunned and avoided by your family. You will have few friends. You will regret this, Alexis said with conviction and emotion. She could see that this was having an effect on him, but, just as she remembered doing, he began to get visibly angry. Now you listen here, he shouted angrily, with an anger that Alexis remembered expressing herself 7 years ago, subjective to her of course. She prepared to take the verbal abuse she knew that the male version of herself was about to give for her trying to distract him from his dream. You, he stammered, shaking his finger at her, I don't know how you know what you know, and I don't care. This has been my dream, my purpose in life. You won't, and neither will anyone else, stop me from taking this chance at my dream. I want this more than anything, more than life itself, he screamed, in an ever louder and more angry voice. All the while, Alexis shrunk back, withering under the verbal assault, and by the time he had finished, she was crying, shaking her head, muttering, no, the whole time. Get the fuck out of my house, I'm going to seize my dream by the horns. Get the fuck out. Leave, he continued, obviously very, very angry with her. A silly thought occurred to her, despite the angry man fast approaching her and her own crying. I'm going to seize my dream by the horns? I can't believe I said something that dumb, Alexis thought. It was enough to bring her back to her senses. Now she had a decision to make. Would she try some more, and possibly cause a paradox, or let it go like she had done when she had been the angry man? She decided to do things differently. He grabbed her by the arm and was about to throw her out of his house. Alexis began to speak. Alex, listen. I am you, from 7 years in the future. I am Alexis Laura Harrison. I have come back in time to prevent you from doing this. You want me to prove it? Fine, she said hastily, thinking quickly back to tell things that only he, and consequently she, would know. Your stack of nude magazines was hidden under a floorboard right next to the closet. You were once caught in drag by Mrs. Allen, but successfully managed to pass yourself off as a real girl and escape. You lost your virginity to Sarah Eschen. She stopped, as Alex's features changed into ones of deep confusion. Alexis took this advantage to press her argument, her plea further. Don't go today, don't undergo Dr. Thomas's procedure. I have a disease, caused by a viroid byproduct of the procedure that will kill me in 3 or 4 years. I haven't spoken to anyone in our family since what you think of as yesterday, when you, and hence I, talked to Steve, our brother. Please, it isn't worth it. Let the dream go. There are other dreams, she said quickly, and with a note of great desperation. Please subscribe my channel for the next part. And visit my Patreon page for early access.